Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And thankfully, I actually have something good to say about the education system, specifically about a certain group of teachers. I've done over the years many videos on what I consider to be disgusting debasement of education, where teachers are complying with the sexualisation of very young people, often children, at a very young age, in pushing what I consider to be degenerate forms of education, of sexual education, onto children from a very young age. What I would consider to be inappropriately young and inappropriate information to these very young children. I'm happy to say that for once, and we must rejoice, it seems that there is a bit of a pushback now, and we must encourage this pushback. But for once, the teachers are finally on the side of angels. And a bunch of Scots teachers have said no. They're refusing to do what they're bidden. They're standing up for what's decent, what's right, and what's ethical. And we need to give them, the strength that they need to go forward, because undoubtedly they will come under a lot of pressure from the various extreme groups whose job it is to sexualise children. And these teachers are saying enough. Let's look at this story and say, well done. Here goes. So Scots teachers refuse to teach sexuality petals, whatever they are, and full frontal nudity images to primary aged kids. You're talking children as young as 8 are being exposed to images, and we're not talking hand-drawn images, we're talking photographic images of naked adults full frontal. And then they're talking about the various forms of sexuality, the various forms of things that you can be doing. And these teachers have said, no, it is inappropriate and we are refusing to do it. Well, bloody done. It finally had to happen, and now it's happening. People are pushing back. They've had enough of this woke, leftist bullshit, and they're fighting back because they don't want their children to be used in this battleground over sexualisation of children from a young age. And it's about time. And we need to stand up and show everyone who's against this, everyone who's pro the sexualisation of children, call them out for what they are. They're peas. Let's go. Teachers have expressed concern over disturbing images being shown to kids as young as 8, and this article contains images that are NSFW, which means not safe for work. I will have to do some blurring, so please beware when I do it, but I will try and get as much on screen as possible before I blur. It's just I have no option because YouTube throws a hissy fit over, the most mundane of images. Honestly, you could show the Venus de Milo and they go, it's a bit dodgy. It's, unbelievable. Anyway, children in Scottish primary schools are being asked to talk openly about their sexuality in class. Why should you be, as an adult, asking a child about its sexuality? They're asking this because that's what's come down from the SNP. We know what the P stands for. And they are exposed to images of full frontal nudity, say teachers, who think parents should know what is in the sex ed curriculum. And these parents often don't know. And indeed, there's been court cases where parents have gone to court to find out what's in these educational classes. And the courts have sided with the child abusers. It's unbelievable. The number of Scottish teachers have said parents should be aware of lesson plans within the relationship, sexual health and parenthood curriculum that have left kids feeling uncomfortable, and in some cases have been removed by head teachers who say the content is inappropriate for pupils as young as 8 or 9 years of age. One teacher said she was even disturbed that the Scottish government didn't highlight these images in their files. Among the offending class is one titled Human Sexuality that asks students in P5, 6 and 7 classes, so you're talking 10-year-olds, to delve into their personal discussions of their sexuality. You have an adult questioning children about their sexuality. That's grooming. That is upright, straight up grooming. If that was going on outside of the context of a classroom, the person there, the adult there, would be arrested and tried. Let's not give teachers a pass. This is grooming. Speaking to the Scottish Express, a teacher said it's all very unscientific and it's very personal, adding that they fear the flower analogy disguises the sexualising, because it's exactly that. They are sexualising children. And this comes from the SNP, of course. That's not a surprise. Images in a lesson titled My Body are quite graphic, they said, and quite shocking, featuring full frontal nudity that another teacher said she feared is forcing kids to familiarise themselves with the nudity of adults before they may be ready. All of this should be happening with parental consent at the child's parents' consent, but also at an age that the child's parents think is appropriate for their child. Certainly none of this should be primary school. Now we're getting down to the images, and this is where I've got to just be careful. The Scottish Conservative Deputy Leader, Megan Gallagher, said this sex ed guidance seems completely inappropriate for children, and I can understand fully why teachers are refusing to use this in their classrooms. And this is where I say well done to the teachers, because up and down the country for years now, teachers have actually been physically pushing it, often with great vim and vigour, because the teachers are just as bad. A lot of the teachers are, there as well. You can't trust them because they're not whistleblowing this shit. This lot are, and I'm going to say well done to them. Well done. She said, while it is important to promote inclusion, sexuality is a very complex topic and something that many parents, including myself, she said, would feel uncomfortable about their children being exposed to, especially to a stranger, to an adult who is not the parent. Any adult who is not the parent of a child discussing this kind of thing, it should be arrested and charged and prosecuted and put on the register for the remainder of their life. Teachers who've been in the profession for several years say they were sold on introducing adult terms to students as a way of equipping them with the language needed to identify abuse. However, no, you don't need language. Just show me on the doll where he touched you. However, there's been a change of mood within schools following the furore over sex questionnaires. If you remember about a year ago or so, Sturgeon at her peak wanted to question every child in Scotland and get a feeling for every child in Scotland, how they felt, how they touched themselves, what masturbation techniques they used. This is genuine. And they were talking on children as young as 5. And I couldn't believe this. When I did that video about a year ago or so, I was outraged. And I still am. But this is Sturgeon. She wanted to know how every child in Scotland masturbated. Firstly, what is wrong with a woman that she thinks that this is interesting? And secondly, why is she not in prison for this? This is just so offensive. Anyway, I'm just going to fly up, so I'm going to have to be very, very careful. Now, the man in this one is a very feminine-looking man until you get to. You're going to go a bit more to this point. Oh well, we've got topless lady. We're going to have to pass out. We're going to pass out really quickly. There we go. As you saw, okay, there we go. Yeah. So as you saw, it is sort of very 70s Mayfair, really, isn't it? Or Fiesta. There was a heavy indication of bush there. I hope you saw. But okay, it was graphic, and I can't really show it because of the rules. But this is what they're pushing on children. I'll fly there. This is what they're pushing on children. Do 8-year-olds need to see images of grown men naked? They get enough of that when they go into the changing rooms. Don't need it in classrooms as well. The images were a big sticking point for all. There were a lot of graphic images, and I'm not just sure they're really necessary. There are full frontal images of male and female, and I mean the guy even has been photoshopped to have long hair. It looks really odd. It does. Why is this man wearing long hair? And I'm going to tell you why they photoshopped the long hair on. It's so that they are preparing young children to be totally accepting of a man who pretends to be a lady with his lady penis in the changing rooms. That's what they're doing. This isn't sex education. This is grooming. This is outright grooming by the Scottish Government, by the Education Secretary. Grooming of children. In plain sight. They're not even hiding it. Again, this is forcing kids to familiarise themselves with nudity in school, in a place where kids and parents might not necessarily want to be shown nude photos. I just wondered about the wisdom of trying to make children get used to a familiar figure like their class teacher and talking about their private parts and sexual orientations and sex generally, yeah? The graphic nature of the illustrations make me wonder if all this is really necessary. Not as part of sexual education, no, but when you're grooming children, it is an absolute must. And that's what you've got. And these teachers, I'm not going to go any further because it's going to get, from here it just gets far worse. So let's just come up and drop that off. It is quite clear that the Scottish Government are little more than a cover front for the Pie organisation. They are pushing this agenda, they are sexualising children, they are grooming children, and they're preparing them so that they can be expected to see tall, masculine bodies with long hair in changing rooms, and who knows, may be asked if they like it. The SNP, abusing children for 100 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming up now because I'm not going to get angry. I'm refusing to get angry because I think this story is far too important for me to get angry. Okay. Previously, the sort of people that would be doing this to children would be seedy little men, dirty little men, you know, self-hating, self-loathing little men that would be touching up kiddies, you know, kiddie fiddlers. Nowadays, it's government ministers in suits pushing it blatantly in front of the parents as they normalise the grooming of children. Because let's face it, they want adults to have access to your children, and they're in making sure that your children are mentally ready to be had by adults. That's what the P in SNP stands for. I don't often, think the worst of people. Well, I do. I quite often think the worst of people. But in this case, this is where the worst is beyond anything that you can think of. I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to end it here. I'm going to just stop because I don't want to get angry. But I will ask, first of all, I'm hoping that this video has earned a subscription, because this is the sort of thing I fight against. I've done many, many videos against this kind of abuse. I've done far too many. Far too many. It's the sort of video that needs to be shown. So I'm going to ask you, please, as far as you can, share this on all your social media. Make people aware of what the SNP government is pushing into schools. You've got the evidence there of what they are showing, and that they are actually actively and openly grooming children. Please share the hell out of this video across everything. If it's, you've got Twitter, across Facebook, across anything you've got, share it. Make everyone in Scotland aware of what the SNP are doing. Maybe there'll be a backlash to such an extent that it will end this government and its rule by pedos. Please like the video as well. Liking this video also spreads it far and wide. We need everyone to know what's going on. This is of massive importance. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. It's not been a pleasant video because of the subject matter, but I think it's an important video. So until next time, stay safe, stay well. For heaven's sake, guard your children and always demand to see what they are being taught before they are being taught it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with your child, who knows. Thank you and goodbye.